Discover the touching moment a lonely CEO offers $500 for a surprising day as his date revealed. Jack Morrison stared at the twinkling skyline of Chicago from his penthouse window, a golden cage of success that felt more suffocating with each passing day. The lavish parties, the endless investor meetings, and the shiny accolades hung on his walls like medals from a war he had fought alone. At 38, he was the CEO of a renowned tech company, yet the weight of his accomplishments pressed heavily against an emptiness he couldn't shake. He swiped through his phone's social media feed, each post a reminder of the laughter and connections he seemed to have lost in the shuffle of success. Today, an impulsive thought struck him: the possibility of connection might be just a post away. He crafted his message, fingers trembling as he proposed to pay $500 for a day spent with a stranger. A date, yes, but wrapped in layers of desperate need for authenticity. The hesitancy gnawed at him, but the loneliness roared louder. Would anyone even respond? The inner conflict raged within. Was he demeaning genuine connection by attaching a price tag? Or was he breaking out of his self-imposed prison? With a shaky breath, he hit send, the small sound of a notification echoing like a surrender. Across town, Emma Harris juggled grease-stained menus and rambunctious customers at the diner that had become a second home. The weight of her two jobs pressed against her like the fast-paced demand of city life, while visions of nursing school flickered in her mind like distant stars. When she stumbled upon Jack's post, it felt surreal. Here was a rare opportunity to escape her routine, a chance to breathe. Despite the unusual nature of it, something in his plea resonated deep within her. When they met, Jack was struck by Emma's raw authenticity, the sparkle in her eyes contrasting starkly with the polished veneer he was accustomed to. Their day began at the Lincoln Park Zoo, where Emma's laughter over a playful monkey pulled at something long dormant inside him. As they shared ice cream under the shade of a spreading tree, she painted vivid pictures of her daughter's antics, weaving the threads of motherhood into patches of dreams and reality. Jack felt his carefully constructed walls begin to crumble. He hadn't shared his own dreams in years. In his corporate labyrinth, vulnerability felt like a lost art. But the visceral contrasts of their lives weighed on him. He knew he moved through this day on the currency of privilege, while Emma danced between duties, weighed down by life's relentless demands. As he absorbed her stories, a creeping sense of guilt gnawed at him. Could he, a man so vastly different, genuinely bridge the chasm that separated them? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack's phone buzzed with an urgent message about an emergency meeting back at the office. Fear and obligation clawed at him. The weight of responsibility threatened to drag him back into the sterile world of boardrooms and spreadsheets. Glancing at Emma, he felt the flicker of something genuine ignite. Could this be the thing that changed everything, or just another fleeting distraction? As the reality of his responsibilities settled like a cold shadow, Jack wrestled with his desires. Was he destined to swap moments like this for hours of financial forecasts? The day hung in the balance, both a serene dream and a stark reminder of the life he was expected to uphold. Would he pull away, or find the courage to break through the isolation that had defined him for so long? Every heartbeat reverberated with impending loss, leaving the outcome hanging precariously at the edge. As he found himself at a crossroads with Emma, their fates intertwined yet unresolved. Jack's heart raced, each thud echoing the gravity of the choice laid before him. The golden city view that had once seemed like the pinnacle of achievement was now merely a reminder of the wealth he held yet could not enjoy. Turning his focus back to Emma, he saw her sweetness twisted with a sense of survival. She was alive, vibrant, while he felt like a ghost tethered to an empire constructed from steel and glass. He glanced at his phone, the notifications stubbornly blinking. He could almost hear the board members' voices, impatient and demanding answers about profits and projection. Yet here was Emma, sharing her life with a candidness that he had long forgotten. The paradox cut deeper. He was supposed to be the authority, the one in control, and yet she held a truth that pierced through his scripted life. "Jack?" Emma's soft voice broke through the labyrinth of his thoughts. "Are you okay?" He forced a smile. "I'm good. Just thinking." But the reality was that he was grappling with the real effects of his loneliness. "About work?" Her brow furrowed, genuine concern replacing the playful warmth. "Something like that," he admitted, his voice tinged with an element of vulnerability he hadn't planned to share. "Sometimes it's hard to know whether the grind is worth it." Emma leaned forward, anticipation glittering in her eyes. "Oh, believe me, I know. I work 2 jobs to chase my dream of nursing school. It's exhausting, but when I think about what it means for my daughter, the grit doesn't feel meaningless." Her typical optimism challenged him, demanding he confront the stark contrast of his own path. Jack's life sparkled with success but was inevitably barren, while Emma crafted beauty from the chaos of her life. The weight of his struggles, buried beneath layers of success, flooded to the surface. "Do you ever think about giving up?" he ventured, curiosity gnawing at him, coaxing an honesty he hadn't allowed himself to explore in years. She paused, her expression contemplative. "All the time. I think about running away, starting fresh, but then I look at my daughter. She's my reason. If I can inspire her to chase her dreams, maybe it's worth it." Jack felt a wave of shame wash over him, igniting anger toward himself for wallowing too long in his own loneliness. Could he ever have that fire, that sense of purpose? "Maybe I need a reason too," he murmured, grappling with the unsettling revelation. Emma's eyes widened, as if she glimpsed something hidden within him. "What do you want, Jack?" The question struck him like a lightning bolt. Truly, what did he want? He had dedicated years to building an empire only to find it crumbling under the weight of emptiness. The answer felt elusive, shrouded in fear and privilege. What fresh understanding of himself awaited beyond this moment? I don't know," he confessed, the words tumbling out as realization cascaded over him. Just as Emma opened her mouth, poised to comfort, his phone buzzed again, the digital tether nagging at his conscience. "I should get back," he reluctantly stated, already feeling the pull of the corporate world gnawing away at his attention. The moment was fragile, teetering on the edge of something profound, but duty shattered the atmosphere. As he stood to leave, Emma's voice softened. "If you ever decide to figure it out, don't hesitate to reach out." The sincerity in her words ignited something inside him, not just the wish to connect, but the burgeoning desire to abide by the whispers within that pointed toward change. Jack had to confront his own patterns and perhaps even reshape his identity beyond the confines of his title. As he stepped away from the tranquil solace they shared, a new resolve formed in the pit of his stomach. The corporate meetings beckoned, but perhaps it was time to redefine his legacy. What he didn't know was how soon his challenge would come to a head, as a collision with an old rival loomed on the horizon, threatening to sweep away the fragile new understanding he was beginning to grasp. Would he emerge strong enough to defend his evolving self, or would the past pull him back into the shadows? The answer awaited, just beyond the next call. The boardroom buzzed with the ambient churn of corporate chatter, a stark contrast to the quiet moment he shared with Emma. Jack stood at the head of the table, his colleagues arrayed around him, their faces a mixture of expectation and impatience. The projections plastered across the screen loomed large, just like the weight of his discontent. Each graph flashed bright against his internal backdrop of confusion and doubt. "Jack?" Brad, his right-hand man, broke through with concern etched across his brow. "We're waiting on your lead here." The pressure intensified as Jack cleared his throat. He looked at the figures once more, his mind battling. Were they just numbers, or were they slipping away like his sense of path and purpose? "We can push the launch date back another quarter," he announced, surprised by his own suggestion. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the room. The ambitious timelines had always been non-negotiable, designed to keep shareholders satisfied. Brad met his eyes with disbelief, but there was something deeper behind that expression: curiosity, Or maybe even hope. Jack pressed on. If we expedite like this, we risk underperformance. Let us focus on quality over speed. Awareness dawned in the room. Jack's voice, previously crisp and authoritative, now wobbled with uncertainty. Yet buried within that uncertainty was an emerging conviction. As discussions continued, Jack felt as if he were outside of himself, watching, noting the disconnect between his role and his deeper desires. Each calculated decision he made for the company felt like sand slipping through his fingers, washed away by the tide of what truly mattered. The weight of the title and the accolades began to feel like shackles rather than honors. After the meeting wrapped up, Brad lingered. "You okay?" he asked, sincerity softening his usual businesslike demeanor. "I made a choice today," Jack replied, frowning at the words as if they were alien. "One that goes against everything we've worked for." "Or perhaps one that puts you on a stronger path," Brad countered, taking his cue from Jack's unease. "It's a risk that could pay off." The flicker of support was unexpected. Jack began to see that while he had honed his professional skills, there was still a personal journey to undertake. Behind the weight of expectations lay the possibility of growth, vulnerable yet invigorating. What had once felt like a fearsome position now emerged as a reluctant call to authenticity. The following days turned surreal. Jack's encounters with Emma continued to resonate within him, often echoed by conversations in the office. During a particularly mundane call with an investor, he realized that life could not wholly revolve around numbers or the bottom line. There was a reflection of humanity that had been shadowed beneath his professional armor. On an angelic impulse, he decided it was time to embark upon a small adventure, a dinner date with Emma that he crafted into a casual atmosphere where the priority was not charts but stories. He calculated an amount, a staggering $500 for the evening, a set price not for the dinner but for the shared experience of vulnerability. Back at his office, what once seemed frivolous now pulsed with neglected excitement. How would she respond? Would this gesture illustrate his desire to truly connect, or merely serve as an indulgence of his newfound introspection? As he hit send on the invitation, a cascade of anxiety swept over him. But it was a choice, a grapple with courage that demanded to be made. He didn't know what awaited him on that evening, what revelation might surface across the dinner table, yet he sensed that this was the first step toward reshaping his legacy. As he paced the room awaiting her response, he realized the confrontation with his own insecurities loomed just as heavy as the response he anticipated. Did this one night hold the potential to unravel a more profound understanding of himself? What lay ahead was both riveting and terrifying. The past would soon meet the present in a clash of ideals, no longer bound by fear but instead by the raw possibility of what could emerge. Would Jack finally find the clarity he craved, or would old habits threaten to drown the fledgling spark of transformation? Jack's heart raced, the seconds stretching into eternity as he stared at his phone. The glow of the screen bathed him in a stark light, reflecting uncertainty in his features. Every tick of the clock seemed to mock his immoderate wish for an answer. The evening held an air of anticipation, yet beneath that lay a wellspring of dread. What if Emma rejected his invitation? Or worse, what if she accepted? But the night unfolded into an awkward silence, stringing together stilted conversation punctuated by the clinking of cutlery. He took a deep breath, attempting to steady his thoughts. Over the years, he had learned to excel in high-stakes negotiations and boardroom battles, yet here he was woefully unprepared for a different kind of engagement. A twinge of irony washed over him. In a space where he had always felt in command, he now felt like a novice navigating the uncertain waters of human connection. The phone buzzed suddenly, breaking the silence. Emma's name flashed on the screen as his heart leapt into his throat. He answered quickly, needing to quell both excitement and anxiety. "Jack? I got your invitation," she began, her voice warm and inviting yet embodying an unfamiliar challenge. "I have to admit, it caught me off guard." "Good or bad?" he pressed, the vulnerability of his moment mingling with an eagerness to engage without pretense. "Good, definitely good. But I have to ask what prompted the idea?" He hesitated, grappling with his thoughts. I wanted to do something different, he said at last. I think we spend too much time working instead of connecting with people, don't you? There was a discernible pause on the other end of the line, allowing him to visualize her assessing his words. That's bold for a CEO. I'm intrigued. The slight laughter that followed, a gentle acknowledgement of their unspoken chemistry, ignited a flicker of confidence within him. Perhaps this wasn't merely a date but a chance to excavate layers of both their identities, unearthing truth through shared experiences. As their conversation unfolded, Jack discovered deeper levels of connection budding beneath the surface. Emma spoke passionately about her last hiking trip, her enthusiasm infectious, painting vivid pictures that momentarily drew him away from corporate graphs and charts. In those moments, he felt himself transform incrementally into someone less tethered by titles and expectations. For the first time in ages, Jack sensed parts of his professional facade waning, allowing space for a more genuine version of himself to shine through. As the call ended, both excited and vulnerable, Jack looked around his office, the cold, polished surfaces now feeling unsettlingly foreign. The office, once a haven of marked triumphs, morphed into a symbol of complacency, not success. Inside, he felt a churning determination to break free from the shackles that had bound him for so long. The dinner drew closer, and with each passing hour, he prepared not just a plan for the night, but a regimented structure for his internal transformation. He envisioned a tapestry of conversations that might reveal truths long buried within his professional armor, a path to growth through authenticity. However, an undercurrent of anxiety bubbled just below the surface. It told him there was still one looming question. Would he genuinely extend the hand of vulnerability he yearned for, or would hesitation tether him back to his bygone self? As he donned a crisp shirt before the mirror, the reflection that stared back held both potential and fear. The moment was arriving, charged with significance. Did he dare to unravel the layers of his carefully curated identity? Or would he allow another opportunity to slip away into the labyrinth of organizational goal-driven life? With the final thread of determination wrapping around his heart, Jack stepped out, aware that he was on the brink of a revelation. Triumph or disappointment loomed ahead, but one thing was certain: he could not retreat to the familiarity of ambivalence. This time, he would confront whatever awaited him. Tonight, his journey would commence. What new aspects of himself would emerge in the wake of this encounter? And could this single dinner redefine not just his relationship with Emma, but his entire notion of success? Jack arrived at the restaurant early, a mix of eagerness and trepidation coursing through him as he surveyed the upscale eatery. A quiet hum of conversation filled the air, punctuated by the soft clinks of glassware and laughter from nearby tables. Yet, instead of comfort, the ambience only intensified his anxiety. He stood at the entrance for a moment, weighing his decision to be here, a quick inner dialogue battling the doubts crowding his mind. He approached the host, who led him through the maze of elegantly arranged tables, each stained with candlelight that flickered like the uncertainty in his gut. He felt the walls close in, the space a stark reminder of the social art he'd always expertly navigated, and yet here, he felt unprepared for the intimacy that lay ahead. Jack found their reserved table prepped, polished, and took a seat, forcing himself to breathe slowly. It was time to practice vulnerability, even if it felt like stepping into the abyss. Emma arrived moments later, her presence striking against the backdrop of glitzy decor. Instantaneously, she brought with her an aura of warmth and genuine spirit that grounded him. "Hey, Jack," she said, with a smile that folded seamlessly into his nervousness. "Wow, this place is gorgeous. You didn't have to go all out." "I wanted to make it special," he replied, surprised at how readily the honesty flowed. "I thought you'd enjoy a place with atmosphere." "Much appreciated." Emma settled into her chair, her light laughter easing the tension knotted in his chest. "So, what about this connecting with people philosophy of yours?" As their dialogue unfolded, Jack found himself weaving through shared interests, wary jokes, and gentle teasing that laid bare more than just their surface identities. The shadows of formality began to dissipate as starlight mingled with laughter, leading them deeper into discussions about aspirations and dreams. He could sense a shift within himself. He was already rippling into someone more genuine. Yet, each moment of connection bore a weighty counterbalance. Doubts clawed at him, questioning whether he could truly sustain this openness. The very charade he had mastered daily felt inadequate in this new space, where authenticity was vital. At one point, while Emma spoke about a risky career move she had made, Jack's instinct was to downplay her achievements, the old reflex to re-establish dominance bubbling up. Instead, he caught himself, humbled by his desire to uplift her instead. "That was brave," he said sincerely. "Most people wouldn't have the guts to chase their instincts like that." Emma's eyes sparkled, surprised by his genuine support. "You mean it?" she asked, a mixture of gratitude and curiosity dancing in her tone. "Absolutely," he replied, feeling his own walls crumbling with each honest exchange. That singular moment resonated within him. It had been years since anyone had broken through the mask he wore so often. As they transitioned into dessert, the conversation steered toward past relationships and lessons learned. Jack's heart raced. Revealing such personal stories felt like standing unclothed before a judge, but something within him pushed against that fear. It was not about his past failures. Instead, it was about how he had grown, how the experiences had shaped him into the man before her. "So, what did you learn from it all?" she asked, her gaze steady, almost inviting. The question hung between them like a freshly struck chord, a reminder that true introspection sometimes requires the courage to confront the shadows of oneself. Jack leaned in slightly, an implicit acknowledgement that he was willing to share. But as he opened his mouth to respond, he suddenly felt a rush of vulnerability, gripping him like a vice. Did he dare to truly reveal the doubts that lay beneath his carefully constructed exterior? Or would he slide back into the familiar role of the guarded executive, retreating to the safety of anonymity? As their gaze locked, Jack realized that not only was he facing Emma but an immutable reflection of himself. He had the opportunity to redefine what success meant, not just as a corporate leader but as someone worthy of real connection. With a resolute nod, he prepared to delve deeper, feeling an unexpected surge of bravery. But at that moment, the waiter arrived to refill their glasses, interrupting the wave of transformation. Jack couldn't help but think it was a fleeting distraction, one that might lead to hesitation coiling back into his essence. Pushing aside undercurrents of uncertainty, he leaned closer to Emma. The answers to his questions about himself lay just within reach, waiting to be uncovered. But was he prepared for the truths that might emerge, even if they turned his world upside down? Would this dinner end in revelations or retreat into the safety he had known for too long? In the air between them, the answer felt tantalizingly close, yet impossibly far away. Jack took a sip of his wine, allowing the tangy notes to dance on his palate as he attempted to collect his thoughts. It was challenging to navigate the powerful emotions swirling within him. Visiting this upscale restaurant was a milestone, but sharing a deeper part of himself with Emma was threatening to be transformative. "Have you ever felt like you're losing control of your life?" he asked suddenly, surprising even himself with his bluntness. The words flew past his lips, a reckless gamble fueled by the tension of the night. He quickly scanned Emma's face for any sign of discomfort, but all he met was a calm curiosity. Emma tilted her head slightly, clearly taking the question seriously. "I think we all go through phases. And honestly, I don't think control is something we're meant to have all the time. So, what's bringing that up for you?" He hadn't expected her to hit back with such wisdom, leaving him momentarily speechless. Control, something he had meticulously curated through his career in business, felt as fragile as crystal now. Hadn't he spent years fortifying his reputation, stacking achievements like the trophies in his office, only to discover this emotional landscape where vulnerability held more weight than any corporate title? Distracted by the realization, he set his glass down with a deliberate thud. "Well, everything feels like it's been a carefully crafted facade," Jack admitted, his voice steadier than he anticipated. "I excel at presenting an image. But to connect, really, it's a damning simplicity that breaks every barrier I've built." Emma's expression softened as he spoke, urging him to continue. "That's brave to admit. It's not easy stepping out from behind those layers." He marveled at how she effortlessly navigated the territory of his fears, without judgment. Something within him cracked open a little wider, allowing a rush of air and potential to seep in. I thought being admired would fill the void, that chasing accolades would somehow lead to fulfillment. But here I am, in an extraordinary place, sitting across from someone like you, and all I can think about is how to be seen for more than just my title. There, amidst the elegance of the restaurant, the weight of his corporate achievements felt diminutive compared to the raw connection forming between them. He realized he had spent too much time crafting a persona that bore no reflection of his true self. Emma leaned forward, lowering her voice. What if I told you that showing someone you doesn't diminish your achievements but enhances them? Authenticity is magnetic. It's how real connections are built. Her words ignited a flicker of hope. Yet, with that was the creeping fear of exposure. To risk being seen completely. Jack grappled with the concept, feeling the tension coiling inside him like a spring. It was enticing yet terrifying, but the notion of growth began to pulsate in him as he shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Jack initiated a laugh to cut the tension. And how does one go about turning off the facade? Emma chuckled softly, the sound like music breaking through his internal chaos. Start small. Share something that scares you. Try being open in a conversation, let the chips fall where they may. It's a practice, really. His breath caught as he entertained the idea, imagining how exhilarating and terrifying it would be to step boldly onto this path of vulnerability. Could he truly voice his fears, let down those facades and risk falling into this raw openness? There was something deeply alluring about that freedom, perhaps, like shedding a cumbersome cloak. Okay, he said, the commitment settled into his spirit. Maybe I can try that with you. But even as he pulled his thoughts together, a nagging apprehension flickered just below the surface. Leaving behind the corporate armor felt like confronting an old friend, and the fear of rejection rattled him. Yet something told him that this newfound approach might lead him to the connections he craved. Before he could second-guess himself, he glanced into Emma's eyes, finding a depth that emboldened him. Would she be ready to catch him if he fell? As the waiter returned with a smile and a flourish, Jack felt the threads of his cautious resolve starting to unravel just as he was ready to unveil a piece of his heart. The waiter's presence was a distraction, yet the tension simmered at the edge of his consciousness. The moment of truth was close, the chance for real transformation looming ahead. Yet, with that hope was the volatile fear of failure. Would he dare to seize it, or would he retreat to the safety of his polished success, ever too afraid of what lay beyond? Uncertainty gripped him firmly as he weighed the risk, poised at the precipice of something profound. How would he navigate this crossroads? And would the leap lead him toward acceptance or a deeper understanding of himself? Jack's heart raced beneath the veneer of professionalism he wore like a second skin. The ambience of the restaurant, so sophisticated and tranquil, initially provided solace, but it now intensified the clamor of his thoughts. Could he truly speak from the depths of his vulnerability? The stakes felt unnervingly high. As he pushed the remnants of his dinner aside, his eyes remained fixed on Emma. Her presence wasn't merely comforting, it was a catalyst for change, promoting an existence beyond the glittering facade. What did authenticity taste like, he wondered. Beyond the polished, success-driven image he deconstructed all his life, was there something genuine lurking beneath? What scares you, Jack? Emma's question threaded through the air, and it was as if she de-exposed the raw underbelly of his introspection. Jack could already sense the tightening knot in his stomach, a response forged from years of tightly wound defenses. He hesitated, seeking the right words, but they seemed elusive. How could he articulate fears that felt so distant from the corporate battlefield he thrived in? For a long time, I equated my worth with my job. People have only known the Jack in the boardroom, a calculated leader. But there's this other part of me that just, craves connection. The admission lingered uncomfortably around them. Emma leaned in, her attention unwavering and affirming. That's powerful. Vulnerability takes strength. What do you think would happen if you embraced that part of yourself? Jack rubbed the back of his neck, contemplating what life without the crafted armor would mean. Would he still be respected? Would people see him as weak? Yet, in that moment, he realized something profound. The allure of authentic relationships made the risks worth taking. He recalled a colleague, someone once admired but now seems caught in a web of validation and titles. The man had lost his way, and that visual resonated with Jack's dread. I don't want to end up feeling like him, lost to my image. Then don't, Emma responded with a calm assertiveness. You control your narrative. Step into it fully. Embrace who you are without compromise. Her challenge lingered in the air, charging the atmosphere. Could he dare to shatter the glass box he built? He found himself leaning forward unconsciously, pulled by an electric connection that inspired audacity. I'll try it, he offered abruptly, though a flurry of self-doubt rolled through him. What if attempting to be open unraveled him in unforeseen ways? It seemed ludicrous, yet exhilarating, like a tightrope act above a chasm of uncertainty. Start small, remember, Emma reminded him, her voice tinged with encouragement. Jack took a deep breath, swathed in both anxiety and anticipation. What about sharing a goal or a dream I've never voiced? Even if it sounds ridiculous. She nodded, a playful smile curving her lips. I've always wanted to try my hand at painting, he finally confessed, the weight easing slightly off his shoulders. But it's not something I'd ever share at work. It feels childish, yet you want to explore it, she interjected, her enthusiasm palpable. That's exactly what you need. It's the perfect blend of daring and discovery. As the conversation flowed, Jack felt an infusion of courage. The banality of having merely roles began to fade. The potential of self-exploration kindled something dormant within him. There was a fire brewing, a new identity rooted in honesty. Yes, he whispered to himself, more as a supplication than a declaration. I want to explore more. The waiter returned again, interrupting their moment. Jack felt the flicker of tension reignite. This was the world he knew, a bevy of interactions marked by professionalism, but every encounter now felt like a challenge against the backdrop of his recent intentions. Excuse me, Jack began, catching his breath before the discontent of the moment could trigger his instincts to recede. Can you tell me if you have any painting classes nearby? The waiter blinked in surprise, as if taken aback by the unexpected query. Jack felt Emma's appreciative gaze sweep over him, and there was no turning back now. The waiter responded with directions, the details slipping between Jack's fingers like opportunity turning to mist. Was he ready to take the plunge, to step openly into this new kind of existence? Suddenly, the uncertainty felt less like a fear and more like a compass pointing the way forward. Jack sat back, realizing how transformative this evening had already been. Was this the beginning of a journey toward embracing his true self? More importantly, what would he discover about himself when he ventured out of the safety of his professional cocoon? He glanced at Emma, a mix of excitement and terror flaring in his chest. But before he could articulate it all, the electricity of the moment sparked anew. Just as he prepared to delve further, a figure across the restaurant caught his eye, sending a wave of apprehension crashing over him. Was it who he thought it to be? The familiar face brought with it a threatening reminder of the past, veiling the path of newfound courage with looming uncertainty. Jack paused, teetering between past fears and present ambition. Would confronting this familiar ghost mean embracing or retreating from his growth? The future hung suspended in the air, each breath tinged with potential, yet laden with doubt. Jack's gaze clashed with the familiar figure across the room, a former mentor turned rival, Robert. The man wore a tailored suit that seemed to symbolize the very essence of corporate success, sharp, cold, and utterly unyielding. It sent a chill down Jack's spine, dredging up memories that had become mere whispers since he'd begun his quest for authenticity. Robert's eyes scanned the restaurant, landing momentarily on Jack, and a smirk played at the edges of his lips. The silent acknowledgement felt laden with judgment and expectations of the past. Jack's heart pounded, the precarious balance of his budding vulnerability now threatened by this reminder of who he once aimed to be and who he feared he might still be. This is the moment, he thought, a restless energy flooding through him. He could either retreat into the security of his former self, or confront the discomfort directly. What was at stake was more than just his private awakening. It was about redefining his value in a world that had so often mistaken severity for strength. Emma noticed Jack's sudden shift, her brow furrowing with concern. "Are you okay?" Jack forced himself to look away from Robert, centering his focus back on Emma. "I can't keep living in the shadows of who I used to be." The tremor in his voice betrayed his resolve, but he pressed on. "I want to be different this time." "Then be different. Show him the part of you he never saw," Emma encouraged, her words wrapping around him like a protective cloak. "You're more than the person he defined." Taking a steadying breath, Jack felt the earlier flame of determination reignite. It was time to embody the vulnerability he had started to claim. He forged through the anxiety tightening his chest and stood up, heart racing with each resolute step toward Robert. He could feel his own pulse pounding in his ears as he approached, and for a brief moment, he questioned the sanity of his decision. But the thought of remaining trapped by someone else's perception felt worse than any confrontation he could face. "Robert," Jack greeted, his voice steady, betraying nothing of the tempest within. The amused smirk vanished, replaced by surprise. "Jack. Is that really you?" he replied with a tone that dripped with incredulity. "I hardly recognize you without a suit and tie. What's next? Art classes?" Jack studied Robert's eyes, which still gleamed with the competitive edge that had once pushed Jack to the precipice of exhaustion and ambition. "Actually, yes," he said, surprising even himself with how easily those words rolled off his tongue. "I've started exploring painting. It feels more real than any quarterly report ever did." Laughter erupted from Robert, yet Jack remained unfazed. "That's cute, but you realize how this looks, right? A CEO trading in his boardroom for a paintbrush?" Jack felt their surroundings contract around them, moments punctuated by the distant murmur of other diners. "And if it is? Why does it bother you so much?" Eyes narrowing slightly, Robert leaned closer. "You're playing with fire, Jack. You think abandoning the corporate facade will lead you anywhere meaningful?" "I don't want to be defined by just my work," Jack countered, his voice unwavering. "I want to embrace the things that make me feel alive. If that means painting or anything else, I'm willing to risk it all." Jack could sense Emma's encouraging gaze from the sidelines, grounding him. He refused to be swept away by Robert's derision. Each word became a brushstroke in a larger canvas, redefining him in real time. "Interesting approach to personal branding," Robert said, masking surprise with sarcasm. "Just remember, not everyone will applaud your journey. Some might see it for what it truly is: foolishness." "I'm okay with that," Jack responded, feeling his own passion surging. "Foolishness has a way of leading to clarity." Robert stepped back, visibly unsettled. The shift was palpable, and Jack relished in the feeling of standing his ground. "You'll regret this, Jack? Just don't come crying to me when the facade crumbles." Before he could respond, Robert turned and walked away, leaving a trail of challenges suspended in the air between them. Jack took a breath, his heart thrumming, both from the confrontation and the realization of his own strength. The encounter had peeled away layers he thought he still needed to hide behind. Perhaps vulnerability was not merely a crack in his armor but an invitation to deeper connection. Emma joined him, admiration shining in her eyes. "That was bold." "Was it?" Jack questioned, his mind racing. "Or was it just the beginning of a new path?" "Definitely the beginning," she affirmed, grinning. As they returned to their table, Jack's thoughts raced ahead. He understood that the true journey was still ahead, one infused with challenges and revelations. What would he face next as he cultivated this newfound authenticity? How would others respond to the Jack that was basking in his increasing confidence? Then, as if to answer his unspoken questions, the server approached, uneasiness painted on their features. "Excuse me, sir, but there's someone else looking for you." Jack felt a surge of curiosity battling against a tinge of dread. Who else had entered his newfound world, and what impact would they have? The next chapter of his life beckoned, but would he embrace it, or would it expose him to the very fears he sought to overcome? Jack's heart clenched as the server stepped back, glancing toward the restaurant's entrance, a telltale sign that someone was indeed approaching. He caught Emma's sidelong look, worry knitting at her brow. Who else could be seeking him here, now amidst a moment so transformative? Then, the figure came into view, a slender woman with a mane of dark curls that cascaded over her shoulders like a waterfall. It was Sarah, another former colleague from his days at the firm. Her expression was uncertain, yet curious, as if she couldn't quite reconcile the version of Jack before her with the one she once knew. "Jack," she said, her voice tinged with genuine surprise. "I didn't expect to see you like this." It felt disorienting, this juxtaposition of the past colliding with a present Jack was still defining. "Hi, Sarah. What brings you here?" he asked, mastering his surprise. "I wanted to talk." "It's been a while," she said, her gaze darting momentarily to Robert's departing figure before returning to him. "I saw the news about you stepping down. I wanted to see what happened." His gut churned at the implication. "I'm exploring other avenues," he replied carefully, the words feeling both liberating and daunting. "That's a bold move," Sarah remarked, an eyebrow arched. "Many would say reckless." Jack felt the weight of her judgment, but also something softer, a flicker of empathy. "Maybe. But it's what I needed to do. I want to be more than just a title." "What do you want to do?" she asked, inquisitively. "Right now, I'm indulging in painting," he confessed, feeling a rush of vulnerability wash over him. "It's a way to express what's been bottled up for too long." Her smile was genuine, sparked with interest. "You always had an eye for creativity, even when buried under deadlines. And honestly, that's refreshing. But do you think this path will lead you to where you want to be?" His mind spun with the depth of her question. Was it merely about the destination, or was it about the journey? "I hope it leads me to a place where I feel alive, connected to myself and my passions." "Interesting," she mused. "And what if it doesn't? What then?" Jack's response hung in the air, heavy with possibility and uncertainty. Would he allow anything less than fulfillment to deter him from his vision? His internal dialogue wrestled with ambition and fear, yet he remained resolute. "Then I keep searching. I refuse to fall back into complacent corporate behavior." "Doesn't that frighten you? The unknown?" "Terribly," he admitted. "But what scares me more is not trying at all." The strength in his voice surprised even him, the assertion marking a turning point. Sarah remained quiet, thoughtfully observing him as if deciphering a puzzle. "Maybe you've always had this strength, just hidden beneath layers of expectation." The connection stirred something within him. As they exchanged ideas about art and vulnerability, it became clear that his journey might resonate with others, perhaps even inspire them to confront their own fears. Suddenly, Sarah's expression shifted. "Jack, how would you feel about an exhibition? A showing of your work, showcasing what you've discovered?" He blinked, unprepared for such an invitation. "I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet. But wouldn't that push your boundaries? Isn't that the point?" The walls of Jack's self-doubt quivered, and his heart raced at the thought of exposing himself through his art. This wasn't just about painting, it was about showing the world parts of himself he had long hidden. Jack felt torn between fear and a thrilling sense of possibility. Maybe it could be a start. A way to galvanize this new identity. "Then let us explore it together," Sarah encouraged, her enthusiasm contagious. "I could help organize things. Make it happen." The conversation lit a fire underneath his budding ambition, yet the specter of Robert's disdain loomed in the back of his mind. What if he failed? "Just remember, Jack, whether you exhibit or not, this journey is yours alone," she reminded, her voice steady but gentle. A weight pressed on Jack's chest as he wrestled with how much he was prepared to expose. Amidst his internal strife, he realized that this new phase of his life must be embraced fully, risk and all. That commitment began to crystallize, but just as he felt his resolve strengthening, the server returned with a small envelope, addressing Jack only. "This just arrived for you," they said softly. Jack opened the envelope, and a sudden rush of unexpected emotion surged through him as he unfolded the letter. His heart raced with curiosity and anxiety. What awaited him within those words could unravel or solidify everything he was beginning to weave together. What was in the envelope, and how would it challenge the journey he was embracing? Jack unfolded the letter slowly, each crease softening with the weight of anticipation. His breath caught in his throat as he read the elegant lettering. Dear Jack, we've seen your recent changes with interest. Your resignation from the firm has caught the attention of many. We believe you have immense potential in a new venture that aligns with our interests. Let us discuss this over lunch next week. Sincerely, the board. The letter felt heavy in his hands, an unexpected invitation to return to the corporate world he had just begun to escape. Panic bubbled within him, threatening to drown the profound awakening he had experienced through vulnerability and authenticity. Beside him, Emma watched cautiously, discerning the storm that brewed beneath his calm exterior. What is it? She asked, her voice steady and inviting. It's an offer. Jack's thoughts raced, feeling the familiar pull of obligation that had once dictated his life. To come back. Back into the corporate grind. The words tumbled out, heavy and uncertain, echoing his internal conflict. Emma narrowed her gaze. Is that what you want? His pulse quickened as he fought to gather his thoughts. Moments ago, he had embraced the notion of becoming more than a title, the artist, the creator. And now, standing at the precipice of his newfound identity, the echo of his old life beckoned once again. Could he juggle both worlds? Would he be able to leave behind the musty old roles that had stifled his spirit? No, Jack resolved, shaking his head defiantly. I've only just started to uncover what it means to express my true self. Just last week, I stood up to Robert and owned my passion for painting, something I never thought I'd do. Why would I let this offer pull me back into a life that left me feeling hollow? Emma smiled softly, her features illuminated by the fervor that bubbled within him. Then don't. This is your moment to choose. Will you reclaim your narrative or let it be dictated by others? His heart swelled at her confidence in him. You're right. The certainty bolstered his resolve. This path is unfamiliar, but it's compelling much more so than being trapped in old expectations. If I accept, it means nothing has truly changed. Taking a deep breath, he folded the letter again and set it aside, determined to clear the clutter of his mind. Tonight, at dinner, he began, I'll commit to making art my focus. Even if nothing materializes from it immediately, it's my chance to reframe my life and explore the unknown without limitation. It's not just the act of creating, Jack. It's about allowing yourself the space to grow. Embracing that risk is what leads to true success. Emma's voice filled him with conviction, invigorating his spirit with renewed enthusiasm. As they continued their dinner, Jack felt the heaviness of the letter dissipate, replaced by the thrill of exploration. He chose to embrace each brushstroke, every story shared, every emotion captured on the canvas. The opportunity to exhibit could serve not only as a rite of passage, but as a way to craft a legacy deeply rooted in authenticity. Skimming through the things they had spoken about that night, Jack held on to the realization that each person he encountered along this new journey, including Emma, fueled his ambition. With her by his side, he could cultivate a world where his dreams, his art, and his humanity merged harmoniously. Before the evening ended, as they shared their final sips of wine, Jack looked deep into Emma's radiant eyes, gratitude surging through him. Thank you for being my catalyst. For allowing me to step outside of my comfort zone. Emma's smile radiated warmth, piercing the lingering shadows of doubt. You've taken those steps toward vulnerability, Jack. Trust yourself to keep moving forward. I believe in you. That night, Jack went home feeling lighter, full of determination and conviction. He placed the letter in a drawer, resolute that it would be a reminder of who he no longer wanted to be. In its place, he decided to keep a canvas propped against the wall, a symbol of his commitment to painting his own destiny. With each stroke, he would shape not just colors and patterns, but the essence of the life he had begun to reclaim, one rich with authenticity and connection. Each morning, the canvas would call to him a vibrant reminder that true fulfillment comes from pursuing what stirs the soul. As Jack dove into his paintings, pouring his energy and emotions onto the canvas, a powerful realization began to form. He had discovered the power of his vulnerability, and the beauty of brave transitions. He embraced the idea that true success lay not in the allure of titles or recognition, but in the deep and meaningful connections made and the passions pursued. Next steps remained unknown, but Jack was ready to emerge fully as the artist he had finally dared to become. And through this journey, there was clarity that as long as he stayed true to himself, he would continue to evolve into the legacy he envisioned, not bound by circumstance but driven by dreams, passion, and unyielding authenticity. This was more than a personal triumph. It was a testament that stepping into the light, shedding the fear, and embracing the unknown could indeed allow him to craft a life worth living. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. This is the moment to show your support. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Let your voice be heard. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.